It's Tuesday, October 21st, 2025, and here's the latest happenings inside the federal machine. A No Kings activist who has called Trump a pedo has just been arrested for possessing explicit child material. And the shutdown continues with Trump giving his remarks, also with Hakeem Jeffries throwing around threats, and with Democrats appearing to not budge on reopening anytime soon. Also, Election Day is only 2 weeks away, so if you have any local elections happening in your area, don't forget. And Elon Musk, he put the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, on blast, accusing him of attempting to target NASA for extinction. And also, the White House has released images of part of the East Wing being demolished as construction begins on the White House ballroom. And there's plenty more that happened today, so we're just going to dive right in. It's probably going to be somewhat of a short show tonight because, frankly, there was a bunch that happened today, but there really wasn't a whole heck of a lot of crazy breaking news stories, that at least not that what I came across today that actually ended up happening. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like and subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy political content on a daily basis, everything that I share typically was posted no older than 24 hours. Most of it has been posted in the last 12 hours, and every article you'll see in this video will be linked in the description below. So I'm just going to start right here with Libs of TikTok. Breaking: Trahan Trent Allen, an anti-Trump No Kings activist who smeared Trump as a pedo, was just arrested and charged for allegedly possessing child sexual abuse material. Why does this keep happening? I don't know. Why indeed? It's almost as if people on the left, Democrats included, everything that they engage in when it comes to accusing the other side of any wrongdoing, they're already guilty of exactly that. Democrats are guilty of that all the time. They say one thing, but the exact thing that they accuse them of, that's what they're guilty of. And he is also a perfect example, accusing Trump of being a pedo when he's a pedo himself. And he was actually charged with child sexually abusive material, aggravated possession. That's the charge that he caught. Aggravated possession. So he had some really sick shit on his fucking devices, his computers. So this is one sadistic piece of shit, man. So anyway, he's in jail, thank God. So they ended up busting his ass. So hopefully he won't be getting out anytime soon. You better be thankful he doesn't live in Florida, because we'll put you on death row if you're a pedo down here. All right, anyway, GOP, we are 2 weeks out from Election Day, November 4th, 2025. Have you checked your voter registration? Have you found your polling place, made a plan to vote? Visit swampthevoteusa.com to find out. I'll link it. Yeah, so it's only 2 weeks left. It's not the midterm, so maybe a lot of people forgot that there is an election coming up. It is only 2 weeks. A lot of local elections going on, so don't forget about your local elections. I mean, frankly, at the end of the day, your local elections are a lot more important to you personally than the presidential elections, for sure, or the federal elections. You know, you got to stay involved in your local community. All right, anyway, Secretary Doug Burgum, spot on from Senator John Barrasso. Democrats are so scared of their radical base that they're continuing to hold this government hostage. And from Rapid Response 47, it's a quote, so I'm just going to play it directly.
The Republicans here are united, and we're united in standing strong with President Trump. This government has been closed now for 21 days, and the Democrats have had a chance to reopen it 11 times, and each time they voted no. No to reopen the government, no to pay the troops, no to pay the Border Patrol, TSA agents, people who do flight control, all of those things critical for our nation. The Democrats continue to vote no. And why is that? It's because they're afraid, as what one Democrat Senate staffer said, they're afraid of facing the guillotine of the radical left. And who are the radical left? They are the people who would prefer to use taxpayer dollars to pay for health care for illegal immigrants than to pay for the men and women who keep us safe. The Democrats are holding this country hostage. It's time for it to end. It's time to reopen the government for all of the people of the United States.
I mean, do they really think, do they actually think that the majority of the country, or even a popular minority of the country, are really on that radical of the left wing? I really don't think so at all. I mean, if that's truly what they think, then the Democratic Party is really doomed, because how many people in the Democratic Party would identify themselves with the radical left or the progressive left or the squad? It's got to be a relatively small minority. I know all the Democrats have gone completely bananas, especially over the last decade, but a lot of them have gone crazy as far as anti-Trump. They haven't gone, at least not from what I've seen, they've gone so far left that they're talking about, taking out $100 trillion for the Green New Deal and shit like that. I'm sure if you take Trump out of the equation completely, assume that he's never been in politics from day one, you're probably going to have quite a few Democrats out there that are not extremely far left. They're probably still going to be relatively centrist. It's just all drowned out by all of this hate Trump, F Trump, dictator, orange man bad rhetoric that they're constantly talking about. Because there's way too many Democrats. That's all you hear from them. So I don't know, man. I think the midterms are going to be quite interesting. I'm really going to be interested to see what happens with that because, I mean, it doesn't really seem like they really have much of a party anymore. I mean, it's fractured beyond belief at this point. Anyway, so I got a second one from Libs of TikTok. I don't usually like to bring up the same account multiple times during one episode, but I couldn't pass this up. I mean, come on, it's Hakeem Jeffries. Democrat Hakeem Jeffries warns extremists that they better watch how you talk when you talk about me. That sounds like a threat. It's only 10 seconds.
When it comes to these extremists out there, you better watch how you talk when you talk about me. Next question.
Okay, next question. All right, I don't know why that was so quiet. C-SPAN. So I'm assuming he's talking about his side because we don't really have a whole lot of extremists over on the Republican side unless you consider extremism, getting up early, kissing your wife and your children goodbye, going to work, stopping to get gas on the way, get some coffee. That's the extremism that most conservatives and Republicans are engaged in today. All right, so House Republicans, oops, Jeffrey said the quiet part out loud. What would that be?
So it's not legislation that I support because it appears to be more like a political ploy,
paying the troops, huh?
Political ploy.
Yeah. Of course, no, they don't want to pay the troops. No, they don't want to. They just want to stick to their guns. They don't want to move an inch when it comes to the CR bill. They just want to stand their ground. They want to dig their heels in. That's why I don't think they're going to let up on this anytime soon. Republicans keep saying that now that the No Kings protest is over, we expect Democrats to come to the table by sometime this week. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that they're probably just going to keep it closed potentially for months and months because there's really nothing else that they've got to offer. At this point, it seems like they really don't have much else to lose, really. All right, Rapid Response 47, the President of the United States on Russ Vought, and it's a quote, so I'll just let him say it himself.
I will say this, that we have Darth Vader. You know Darth Vader, right? Darth Vader is a man who, I think he's sitting right. Is that Darth? Stand up, please, Darth Vader. Stand up. Does everybody
Stand up,
know?
Darth Vader.
They call him Darth
He
Vader.
wants to purge the government.
I call him a fine man, but he's cutting Democrat priorities, and they're never going to get him back. And they've caused us, and they've really allowed us to do it. And by the way, thank you. You're doing a great job, I have to tell you. So, really a great job.
Well, Trump should have moved on this at least a week ago. I don't know why he's holding this up.
The New York project, $20 billion, we're cutting it. They're not going to get it back. I mean, they're not going to get a lot of things back.
Better hurry up before Democrats come back to the table.
Maybe we'll talk to them about it. But they're losing
the
things that they wanted. But many of the things that they wanted are things that we don't want. Things that are just so bad for our country. And we're cutting those things out. And I will say this, that...
Well, and that's the problem with Republicans. They're always willing to remain at the table. They're always sitting there waiting when the Democrats run out of the room and throw their giant temper tantrum and cause all this freaking destruction all over the place. The Republicans are sitting there waiting nicely, patiently, and calmly for when they finally come back in and they're ready to get back to business. Well, I think what Trump should have done, he should have actually moved on this, not just like defunding parts of the government, but also purging thousands and thousands of non-essential government employees, as he said he was going to do last Friday. We were expecting him to give out the list of exactly which departments and how many positions in each department were going to get permanently cut. And Friday came and went. I didn't see anything. So I'm still waiting to see what they're going to do because, I mean, what if Democrats do come back to the table, let's say tomorrow? Well, Trump might miss his opportunity to do so unless he just reserves the power to do it, whether the government's open or not. I mean, that could be that could be a possibility also. But I think it's more specifically while the government is shut down that the presidency gets a lot more power that he usually doesn't have because the government's partially shut down. So anyway, we'll have to see what happens. So, and we've got another quote from the president.
Today I'm calling on every Senate Democrat to stop the madness, to let our country get back. In the greatest moment in the history of our country in terms of wealth, in terms of job creation, and in terms of investment coming in, these guys go on strike. It's really a shame.
Yep,
so I'm
worst time.
asking them to be smart.
F Trump.
It's not working.
That's why.
They're getting killed in the polls. The public understands what they're doing. They're doing the wrong thing.
They
Today,
are, man.
I'm calling on every Senate Democrat.
They're absolutely doing the wrong thing because the tariffs are working. Tons of manufacturing is coming back. Trillions of dollars. Like Trump came up with a number the other day. He said that $20 trillion in total is being invested into the United States after he announced the tariffs. It's not just the money coming in from the tariffs. It's the manufacturing returning to the U.S. also. And also building out the AI infrastructure, building out energy. There's a lot of big things that are happening, and the Democrats shutting down the government really puts up some roadblocks in terms of that progress. But I mean, they're gonna have to eat it. They're gonna have to own it because, like he said, I think that people are awake to it. I think people understand exactly what's going on. Because the one thing that Democrats keep repeating is that well, Republicans they want your health care to double. They want it to triple. It's gonna cause millions of people to lose their health care if they don't extend these tax credits, which are due to expire at the end of November because they're COVID tax credits, and they're expiring because COVID's over. And look, not a single Republican, as far as I understand, voted for Obamacare, and this is all about Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act, it is Obamacare. And the fact that it's gotten so extremely expensive and they've had to subsidize it pretty much since its inception just proves of how big of a failure that it's been the entire time. And for them to try to put that on Republicans is not only disgraceful, but it's fucking stupid. Anyway, Steve Scalise, Senator Ossoff, would rather cash in on millions from radical leftists than open the government and help tens of thousands of Georgia families. While Americans miss paychecks and struggle to make ends meet, Democrats are focused on appeasing the far left and fundraising. It's disgusting. Let's hear what he has to say.
State, there is real pain being inflicted. People that aren't sure if they're going to get another paycheck if they're working for the federal government. And there's a state, Georgia, that has a number of military bases, a lot of other federal workers. NIH is headquartered in the state of Georgia. And what is one of their senators, Senator Ossoff, thinking about all this? Another Democrat said, Senator Ossoff's calculation is, quote, do I vote to open the government up and get crushed and can't raise a single dollar of low dollar money? Or do I vote to shut the government down and get $3 million from online fundraising?
What?
That's disgusting. Senator Ossoff is more concerned about getting low-dollar donations from maybe some donor in California who's going to click on an email and give him $100 for his reelection. And so he's causing suffering on tens of thousands of people in his home state of Georgia. Senator Ossoff ought to send that tainted, dirty money back if he's raised $3 million off of the shutdown, off of the suffering he's caused, just so that he can get some more money from radicals around the country. Go look at his finance report during the shutdown. The low-dollar donations that he's more concerned about getting than opening up the government, which is the right thing to do, because they're scared to death of their base, because they want to keep getting low-dollar donations from the most radical members of the Democrat Party.
Well, that begs the question, did he already raise the $3 million, or is that his target goal? And if he hasn't raised anywhere near $3 million, is that really what the Democrats are going to do? They're just going to keep the government shut down until they've raised an adequate amount of fundraiser dollars, and they're looking for low-level, small donations from everyday working people. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous, man. All right, Senate Republicans, President Trump on Senate Democrats holding the government hostage. Quote, we will not be extorted on this crazy plot of theirs. Reminder, Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats refuse to open the government because they want free health care for illegals. Yeah, I mean, that's a large element of it. They want of course, free health care for millions of Americans also, but they want discounted health care for millions more because Obamacare has failed. It failed a long time ago, and they've had to subsidize it ever since, and they should have repealed it freaking forever ago. But anyway.
From the beginning, our message has been very simple. We will not be extorted on this crazy plot of theirs. They've never done this before. Nobody has. You always vote for an extension.
No, they got nothing,
Chuck
no
Schumer
other cards
the
to play.
Democrats
This is all they got.
For the clean, bipartisan CR and reopen our government. It's got to be reopened right now. We're not doing that. They are the obstructionists. And the reason they're doing it is because we're doing so well. We're doing well all over the world. We're doing well with the close to $20 trillion that I just told you about. It will be that number, but even if you take it down to over 17, that's a guarantee. We're doing well with everything. Car plants are pouring back into our country. AI plants.
Yep,
we're dominating
the situation
China right now in AI. And I did something that I think you'd like. From the
All right, well, and that's the problem the Democrats have, is that Trump's doing an amazing job and tons of money, tons of manufacturing's coming in. We're roaring full steam ahead, even though we still have a major problem in the economy with regard to the middle class. I mean, a lot of people are really tapped out on their savings and they're deeply in debt. Housing costs twice as much as it did like 5 years ago. So there's a lot of other set of problems to deal with. But Democrats they're shutting down the government, and with their excuse being that healthcare or Obamacare is about to double in cost, and it's the Republicans' fault. Like that's really the only thing that shut the government down on. No, the real reason is try to stop Trump's progression. However, they also handed him a lot of power by giving him the ability to not only downsize the government, but start slashing Democrat-run programs too, including some project. It was some like construction project, like a bridge or something like that. It escapes me at the moment, but Chuck Schumer had been working on it in his state for like 15 years, and Trump just torpedoed it forever. Like it's never going to happen. And he just handed that to Trump on a silver platter. It's absolutely crazy. So, all right, anyway, another one, Senate Republicans. This is deranged. Senator Heinrich says he will not vote to pay our troops, TSA agents, or law enforcement because it gives the president more leverage.
Some Republicans, Senator, have pushed a bill that would pay government workers who have not been furloughed as part of the government shutdown. Those who have been furloughed would still be without pay. Is this something you would support?
Is he in the studio, or is he actually sitting outside the Capitol building while he's sitting inside the Capitol building? You couldn't walk like 5 minutes to sit down with Wolf Blitzer, or I don't know, maybe he's in the studio. I don't know, but I don't know why it's trying to make it look like that he's at the Capitol while he's at the Capitol. I mean, what the hell?
I'm not going to pit some of my government employees against other government employees. I think that just gives the president more leverage to really make the situation worse and treat some government employees with incredible disdain. We've already seen a lot of government employees fired during the shutdown who didn't need to be fired. This is an administration that's very hostile to government employees.
Oh, they're very hostile
in my state, and I'm not going to turn my back on any of them.
Oh, they're so hostile. How dare they? Oh, my God. All right, Mark Wayne Mullen, Dems wrote Obamacare. They passed Obamacare without a single GOP vote. So according to Mark Wayne Mullen, they didn't get a single Republican vote when they moved to pass Obamacare. They created the Obamacare COVID credits without a single GOP vote, and they extended those credits and chose a 2025 expiration date with no GOP votes. If Democrats want to discuss their Obamacare failures, we welcome the conversation after they end the Schumer shutdown. See, so they completely own all of this. And that's the one excuse they have for shutting down the government, is the fact that healthcare is about to get really expensive. And assuming what Mark Wayne Mullen is saying is that what he's saying is true, what the hell do they have to accuse the Republicans of? They literally have nothing. It's just full blatant lies, just one after the next. But that's all the Democrats have been doing for years at this point. So Leader John Thune, I've made it clear that if Democrats reopen the government, we can immediately sit down and talk about the Obamacare cliff they've created. Republicans are ready to get to work. We're just waiting for Democrats. Look, the only conversation that should be on the table is repealing it. Repeal it. Get rid of it. Just nuke it forever. All right, let's see what he has to say.
3 weeks. It's been 3
But I have a feeling he's not going to do that.
Since
I have a feeling he's going to give them money for it.
Since Democrats chose to put the demands of far-left activists ahead of serving the American people. And over the last 3 weeks, Mr. President, it's the American people who have borne the consequences of Democrat shutdown. Thousands of flights have been delayed. Nutrition assistance for millions of needy families is in jeopardy. Military families are turning to food banks in unprecedented numbers. The Democrats are apparently willing to prolong the suffering until their far-left
especially the military.
Satisfied.
Saw a lot of service members in really long lines outside of food banks.
Numerous opportunities to end the shutdown. We've held now 11 votes on a clean, nonpartisan, continuing resolution to end the shutdown and the pain that comes with it. And they said no every time. We give Democrats
how many times
an
now?
opportunity
Like
to consider
15
the
times?
bipartisan defense appropriations bill, something that I might add passed the Senate Appropriations Committee 26-3 in an overwhelming bipartisan vote. We gave them an opportunity to consider that here on the floor, so we can at least
Sounds like the days of bipartisanship is over as far as what the Republicans want.
Democrats called it unacceptable and a distraction to pay the troops. We even offered to give them a vote on a health care proposal of their own design if they vote to reopen the government. The answer again was no.
Okay, so if that is indeed true, that they offered them exactly what they want with regard to health care, then they will keep this government closed for months and months. And if it's a ploy to try to wreck the progress of the Trump administration, I'm not so sure if they're going to get exactly what they want. It's going to cause a lot of damage on the Democrat side because the vast majority of people who work in the federal government vote Democrat. And all those people, they've got family. They all have a lot of other family members that are going to be affected by this too. Or they're going to hear their relative who works for the government constantly complaining and freaking out about how they have to go to work, but they're not getting paid. So do you think they're going to continue voting Democrat? I mean, some of them might. I just don't really see this working out for him. But if what he just said is true, then they probably will keep the government shut down for months and months, maybe even a year. I mean, the midterms, they're a little bit over a year from now. So will they actually keep the government shut down for a really long, prolonged period of time? I think at this point, I think it's really likely, because I had an idea that maybe they should call them out on, or, call their bluff and say, okay, we're willing to give you whatever, just throw a number out there and invite Democrats to the table. All right, we're going to extend the tax credits by like another, let's say 6 months or so. We'll extend or even a year, give them another year. The same exact program, all the tax credits that they've been given out since 2021 for the Affordable Care Act, just extend it one more year. Offer that to them. I have a really strong suspicion that they would still say, no, we're going to keep the government shut down. So basically, if they said, okay, Democrats, everything that you want right now, tell us what you want. And then they'll say, we want A, we want B, we want C. Okay, you got it. All right, let's put it out. Let's put it on paper. You go ahead and sign it, Chuck Schumer. Everybody sign it, and let's get this. I still think that they would probably say no. And if what I suspect is correct, there is nothing that anybody can offer the Democrats right now to open up the government that they just want just to inflict the pain. No matter what it is that they're looking for, they don't care. They're going to keep it shut down regardless.
I don't know what Democrats are looking for.
I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know.
For Republicans to give in to their hostage taking, they should think again. I've been very clear since the beginning. On the first day of this shutdown, I said Republicans would be perfectly willing to discuss the issues Democrats are raising, but only after we reopen the government. I said, and I quote, quoting myself here, we're not going to engage in bipartisan discussions.
Well, the Democrats are going to say, well, that's our leverage, though. That's all of our leverage.
Demands, end quote. And interestingly enough, Mr. President, that's the exact same position the Democrat leader espoused during the 2013 shutdown. He said then, and I quote, as we said 1,000 times, we are happy to discuss how to fund the government, not with a gun to our head. Open up all the government, and then we can have a fruitful discussion. Then we will discuss things, but as has been said over and over, not with a gun to our heads, end quote. That from the Democrat leader back in 2013. He espoused the same position, interestingly enough, again in 2019, noting, and I quote again, we cannot ever hold American workers hostage again, end quote. And yet here he is in 2025, holding American workers and government funding hostage. I guess he's forgotten his own words. Or maybe it's just situational. Like a lot of things They've just adopted a political position, not a real one.
All right. Anyway, so I think we pretty much get the idea. It goes on for a bit. I'll repost it if you want to check it out. It'll be on my profile, which is linked in the description if you want to check it out. Or you can go straight to Leader John Thune. It's on his page. He posted it 8 hours ago, 10:43 a.m. Anyway, so I've got another one. Senate Republican Senator Durbin doesn't have his facts straight. Not a single Republican voted for Obamacare or the enhanced COVID subsidies that are causing premiums to skyrocket. So this is coming directly from Senate Republicans, and it's got the great badge. So this is the official profile of the Senate GOP. So even they are saying that not a single Republican voted for Obamacare. So I'm going to stick by that now that it's coming directly from the Senate Republicans. Anyway, if Democrats want to discuss how to address their failure or keep premiums low, they should reopen the government.
And when we say that to the Republicans, they'd say, we'd rather shut down the government. Shut down the government. It was your vote that created this premium increase. Can't you join us now, Democrats and Republicans?
What vote?
And
Tell us what won.
Of course we can. And we ought to do it as quickly as possible.
Okay. Well, I would like to know that. Like, which vote is he talking about that caused the increase in the premiums? What was it exactly? Oh, is it the tax breaks to billionaires? Because I'm still trying to figure out how the hell they connect those two. All right, Rep. Nicole Maliotakis' office, President Trump stepped in and saved the Women, Infant, Children, WIC program during the shutdown, but SNAP will soon be depleted if Schumer and Senate Democrats don't stop the shenanigans. Now, I know that they've slashed a lot from SNAP benefits, but I don't think that goes into effect, or it has gone into effect yet. I believe for a lot of people receiving food stamps, they can only receive it for a maximum of 2 years, and then they're kicked off the program. But there are exceptions, like if your kids are under 14 years old, but you still have to work like 20 hours a week or something like that. But all right. But anyway, here, let's hear what she has to say.
Congresswoman Nicole Maliotakis.
Another quiet
in the
one.
U.S. Capitol, and unfortunately, we're still in a shutdown. Senator Schumer simply will not give the 7 votes necessary to reopen our government. As you know, 60 votes needed in the Senate, 53 Republican votes. He should just vote for the same bill, same language.
Well, wait a minute. No. They need 5 votes because John Fetterman, he's siding with Republicans on reopening the government. And then there was one more, an independent. Oh shit, who was it? Was it what's his name from Maine? I think it was.
Funding levels that he has 4 times before, so we can reopen this government and get back to work. What I want to say is that at the end of this month, we're going to see SNAP recipients.
Well, but Rand Paul, he actually
New York
sided with the Democrats on the
this.
shutdown.
3 million New Yorkers are going to not receive SNAP benefits if Senator Schumer keeps playing games. We saw this happen with the Women, Infant, Children program, but thankfully President Trump stepped in to make sure these young families, these young mothers and their children were being fed. And so he moved tariff money, but sadly, there's just not enough money to go around if we do not fund the government. The military, thankfully they were paid on the 15th of October, again, because President Trump shifted research and development funds at the Pentagon to pay our troops. But never forget that Chuck Schumer and his fellow Democrats were willing to see our troops go unpaid. They were willing to see our women and children go unfed. And now they're willing to cut off SNAP benefits for 3 million New Yorkers. Call Senator Schumer, call Senator Gillibrand. Let them know that you want them to vote for the bill that they voted 4 times before. There's no antics, there's no gimmicks, there's no outside unrelated policy snuck in. It is a clean extension of government. Let's reopen this government and let's continue to serve the people of our state and our country.
All right, so that's up in New York. I think they've actually voted on that clean CR bill like 13 times. I think it was a lot more than, what did she say, 5 times? All right, so from the White House, quote, "There is still hope that Hamas will do what is right. If they do not, an end to Hamas will be fast, furious, and brutal." So this is a post from Donald J. Trump on his Truth Social. "Numerous of our now great allies in the Middle East and areas surrounding the Middle East have explicitly and strongly, with great enthusiasm, informed me that they would welcome the opportunity, at my request, to go into Gaza with a heavy force and straighten out Hamas if Hamas continues to act badly in violation of their agreement with us. The love and spirit for the Middle East has not been seen like this in 1,000 years. It is a beautiful thing to behold. I told these countries and Israel, not yet. There is still hope that Hamas will do what is right. If they do not, an end to Hamas will be fast, furious, and brutal. I would like to thank all of those countries that called to help. Also, I would like to thank the great and powerful country of Indonesia and its wonderful leader for all the help they have shown and given to the Middle East and to the USA. To everyone, thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So we'll just have to see. Apparently, they are still getting into shenanigans. I guess there's still gunfire happening. I heard a rumor somewhere that Hamas had killed 7 people. So, yeah, I guess they haven't quite laid down their arms just yet. But now that the hostages have all been released, like what leverage do they have other than just, just standing the ground that they stand on? But that's not going to work out well for them. So anyway, from Defense News, if America were to go to war with China, damaging Chinese ports or seizing economic facilities would be a strategic blunder, one officer argues, and this is on Defense News. In a war, the U.S. Army could destroy China's ports, but should it? I don't know. I don't know if it should destroy China's ports. Anyway, if America goes to war with China, rocketry may be the U.S. Army's most important contribution. A conflict across the vast Pacific would be waged primarily by air and sea forces backed by small contingents of ground troops. But while the Army may not storm Shanghai in a ground assault, it certainly has the ability to strike Chinese territory. The Army has an arsenal of long-range munitions in service or under development, including the shorter-range precision strike missile, the Typhoon strategic mid-range fire system, and the Dark Eagle long-range hypersonic weapon. These missiles can hit targets 1,000 to almost 3,000 kilometers away. A likely target would be Chinese ports that would be key to supporting the Chinese fleet, staging an amphibious invasion of Taiwan, and sustaining Chinese exports and imports. But damaging Chinese ports or seizing Chinese economic facilities is a bad idea, warns Army National Guard officer. In fact, quote, the Army should preserve Chinese maritime shipping infrastructure during conflict so that it is usable post-war, end quote, wrote Captain Mika Niederfleur in a recent essay for Military Review. This sounds counterintuitive. Compelling the enemy to capitulate by destroying his strategic infrastructure has been a plank of U.S. policy since the B-17 bombers of the 1930s. But despite U.S. efforts to decouple its economy from China's, America still depends on China for everything from iPhones and rare earths to providing an export market for American farmers. Much of the global economy, especially manufacturing, relies on Chinese industry. Well, as far as the export market for American farmers is concerned, they haven't bought a single soybean from American farmers at all this year. Not at all. And they buy, millions of tons of soybean a year, but they haven't bought anything from the U.S. this year. Plus, with regard to the rare earth minerals, they are effectively staging a chokehold on rare earth minerals, not just against the U.S., but the entire world. So they're putting caps on the amount of rare earths that they're going to export to other countries just to try to strong arm the world with regard to everything we use rare earths for, which I'm sure includes automotive and electronics, probably a whole bunch of different things. I'm sure the AI infrastructure that we're working on building is going to be hit by that. iPhones, Apple, they just invested $600 billion into the United States, so I think they're working on manufacturing iPhones in the U.S. They haven't started yet, but I'm sure that's what they're working on. So, yeah, with regard to the ports, I mean, you could always rebuild them. You could destroy them and then rebuild them post-war. Why couldn't we do that? But anyway, quote, U.S. joint doctrine specifically identifies ports as targets, and predictions for a U.S.-China war perceive Chinese ports as likely targets for U.S. strikes. Niederfleur said, therefore, in any U.S.-China conflict, Chinese maritime infrastructure will be exposed to the devastation of 21st century warfare. If devastating China's ports cripples the global or U.S. economy, any victory could prove Pyrrhic. Since an unconditional Chinese surrender is unlikely, there would inevitably be a negotiated peace and a need to restore post-war trade, Niederfleur argued. Nah, I mean, you've got freaking India next door to China, and India's got a bigger population than China now. India is now the most populated country in the world, so why couldn't we just shift trade over to India and have them handle the manufacturing? I know that China's already got everything in place. The infrastructure's there, certainly, way further ahead than India. Of course, India would have to want to come to the plate and play ball with regard to that. I'm pretty shocked that they haven't up until this point, because they certainly have the manpower to do insane amounts of exports. But anyway, so suggesting that the Army should preserve enemy strategic infrastructure might make many balk, but the reasoning is sound, wrote Niederfleur. The U.S. domestic prosperity significantly depends upon international trade in the global economy, which in turn are deeply intertwined with China. Well, Trump is trying to get us decoupled from China, and by implementing 100% tariffs above and beyond what we've already got established against China, that's a hell of a stepping stone. But anyway, so I'll just move on to the next thing from U.S. Southern Command. Partnership in action. U.S. service members and Panamanian security forces are in the midst of a challenging 21-day combined jungle orientation course in Panama. The course is focused on survival, tactics, and patrol operations with the goal of producing graduates who are not just individually proficient, but capable of functioning seamlessly as a combined force. The joint course supports Southcom efforts to increase partner nation capacity and interoperability in the region and reflects the United States' enduring promise of friendship, partnership, and solidarity with the Panamanian people. And we could read more here, which I'll link. Or I also have a feeling that this may be in part having to do with the whole Venezuelan narco-terrorist drug trade, because U.S. military, specifically Southcom, the Southcom area of responsibility, which includes South America, those are the fleet of ships that have been blowing up the narco-terrorists on their vessels. The military is talking about possibly shifting their operations from exclusively international waters onto land-based missions to try to go after the drug traffickers, because they believe that there's a lot of drug trafficking that's still happening on land. So this looks like something they might be training for with regard to that. Anyway, that's just my personal opinion, but they got a few photos of what they're doing out in Panama, the Panamanian jungle, joint operation, survival skills, all that good stuff. All right. So anyway, moving on to Fox News. Game changer. Texas officials identify nearly 3,000 potential non-citizens who will be further investigated. Texas officials confirmed that non-citizens who voted in previous Texas elections will be referred to the Attorney General's office for review and potential prosecution. Quote, illegal voting in Texas will never be tolerated, Governor Greg Abbott said. I'm assuming if it's from Fox News, they've got an article linked. Of course they do. So I'll take a look at this. All right, so thousands of illegal immigrants registered to vote. So, and this is in the red state of Texas. So imagine the blue states. If they found thousands of illegal immigrants registered to vote in the state of Texas, just imagine how many are registered to vote in, obviously, California, or Illinois. I mean, just name your blue state, any of them. It's probably in the hundreds of thousands, maybe even more than that. And they might, I would assume that they're not only voting in local elections, I'm sure they have every ability to vote in the federal elections too, which is extremely illegal. All right, a Texas election review has identified thousands of illegal immigrants on the state's voter rolls, Texas Secretary of State Jay Nelson said on Monday. Nelson said a cross-check of state voter records found that more than 2,700 possible illegal immigrants were registered on the voter rolls, leading to an eligibility review across the 254 counties. Damn, dude, Texas has 254 counties? Good grief. Man, they do everything big in Texas. All right, so the data came from a full comparison of Texas' 18 million registered voters against federal citizenship records in the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services SAVE database, according to the Secretary of State's office. Quote, only eligible United States citizens may participate in our elections, Nelson said. Quote, the Trump administration's decision to give states free and direct access to this data set for the first time has been a game changer, and we appreciate the partnership with the federal government to verify the citizenship of those on our voter rolls and maintain accurate voter lists. And the investigation showed that after running the SAVE cross-check, the state officials could identify 2,724 potential non-citizens whose voter files have been sent to local counties to be further investigated. This process falls under Chapter 16 of the Texas Election Code, which requires counties to verify each voter's eligibility and remove confirmed non-citizens from the rolls. Nelson said the review is part of an effort to maintain an accurate voter list and to safeguard election integrity ahead of the 2026 election cycle. Quote, everyone's right to vote is sacred and must be protected, Nelson said. We encourage counties to conduct rigorous investigations to determine if any voter is ineligible, just as they do with any other data set we provide. Each flagged voter will receive a notice from their county registrar, giving them 30 days to provide proof of U.S. citizenship. If a voter does not respond, their registration will be canceled, though it can be reinstated immediately once proof of citizenship is provided. Nelson's statement said confirmed non-citizens who voted in previous Texas elections will be referred to the Attorney General's office for further review and potential prosecution. Good. I hope they do. The announcement comes amid growing national scrutiny of voter rolls as several states, including Georgia, Arizona, and my state of Florida, have conducted similar audits of voter eligibility. Republican Governor Greg Abbott said that since Senate Bill 1 was signed into law, Texas has removed more than 1 million ineligible or outdated registrations from the state's voter rolls, calling the effort essential to safeguard Texans' right to vote. That is insane, dude. Over 1 million ineligible or outdated registrations. That is absolutely crazy. Quote, these reforms have led to the removal of over 1 million ineligible people from our voter rolls in the last 3 years, including non-citizens, deceased voters, and people who moved to another state. I would love to know, I wonder if they could do an analysis on this to take the million ineligible people, this massive list of people who are ineligible, and go through and check. And they probably could use AI to make this a much quicker process to see which one of them have voted over the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And just out of curiosity, I'd just like to know how many of them voted for a Republican or how many of them voted for a Democrat. It wouldn't surprise me if over 90% of these people who are ineligible probably voted Democrat. That would not surprise me at all. I mean, like, what does that saying go? Like for an old Democrat, they say, bury me in a blue state so I can keep voting or something like that. I don't know. All right, anyway, so the Secretary of State and county voter registrars have an ongoing legal requirement to review the voter rolls, remove ineligible voters, and refer any potential illegal voting to the Attorney General's office and local authorities for investigation and prosecution. Illegal voting in Texas will never be tolerated. We will continue to actively safeguard Texans' sacred right to vote while also aggressively protecting our elections from illegal voting. All right, so let me read a little bit more. Abbott has called the initiative proof that Texas is leading the nation in election integrity. A breakdown of the information was released by the Secretary of State's office showing Harris County with the largest number of potential non-citizens at 362, followed by Dallas County, and then Bexar County and El Paso County. Smaller counties, including Andrews, Llano, and Cook counties, reported fewer than 10 flagged registrations. In total, all 254 Texas counties were included in the SAVE database review. Counties began sending verification notices this week as part of the 30-day review process. And we've got the county and potential non-citizens. And you can actually download this. It's a PDF. So it shows all the counties and the number from each county. So there you go. But anyway, it goes on for a bit longer, but I'll go ahead and move on. You want to check it out in the description. And we'll move on to the next topic. That's going to be from Homeland Security. Illegal aliens have exploited outdated systems to defraud Americans and taint our elections. All Americans should support President Trump and Secretary Noem's efforts to ensure that only Americans vote in American elections. DHS has revamped the systematic alien verification for entitlements database to ensure government officials can swiftly verify statuses, stopping entitlements and voter fraud. So it is still related after all. All right. So now we're moving on to the next topic for sure this time. CBP making life harder for cartel members. It's what we do.
And an anonymous member of the Sinaloa cartel.
Ooh, that's loud. I'm sorry.
That Trump's immigration and drug policies have put a damper on their black market tradecraft. Dressed conspicuously in a black mask, sunglasses, black gloves, and a hat to conceal his identity.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Do you think what President Trump has been doing has been making your job tougher?
Oh, that movie escapes me. Oh, yeah. I know what that is.
Cartels are charging much more to get migrants across the southern U.S. border because of Trump's crackdown on illegal migration. The anonymous man on CNN is not the first Sinaloa cartel member to credit the Trump administration for its robust approach to halting the human and drug trafficking operations at the southern border.
Dude, in that wall, I saw them constructing some of the wall last week. I did a video clip on it. I think it might have been in Texas. It was near one of the military bases. But this wall is way taller than it looks, man. Because they had construction workers that were using a crane to lift up one of the slats. And like a 6 foot man is like at this point of the wall. It is insanely tall. It's like, this doesn't do it any justice at all, man. It's a crazy huge wall, man. All right, Homeland Security. Thanks to President Trump and Secretary Noem, the Rio Grande is no longer a gateway into America for dangerous criminals. DHS is launching Operation River Wall deploying U.S. Coast Guard forces Rio Grande to secure the Rio Grande against illegal immigration, narco-terrorists, and other criminal activity at our southern border. DHS will use every tool at our disposal to protect and defend the American people. Remember when Texas was setting up shipping containers along the Rio Grande to try to use like a makeshift wall, and the Biden administration ordered all of the shipping containers removal? They also had those buoys that were strung out like parallel through the middle of the river, and they ordered all of them to be removed too. That's the extent that the Biden administration, our federal government, went to get illegals to flood into our country. They were removing what the state of Texas had spent taxpayer dollars on to try to set up a makeshift wall after their refusal to complete Trump's border wall. And they even ordered the removal of all of that shit. Even the barbed wire. They even sent, I don't know if it was Border Patrol or who it was, but they were sending, I don't know if it was the military or federal agents to actually cut down that barbed wire that Texas had put up to keep illegal immigrants out. That was all during the Biden administration. Opening up the fucking floodgates. What do you think they'll do if the Democrats get back in power again? I bet they're going to probably remove the entire border wall. And they'll probably say any illegal immigrant who can come in, we'll give you instant citizenship. We'll give you thousands of dollars. Free this and free that. Free everything. All right. Anyway, Homeland Security, the Trump administration's on pace to shatter deportation records by the end of the President Donald Trump's first year since returning to office. This is just the beginning. We'll pull up an image of this. Record deportations under the Trump administration since January 20th. There's been 515,000 plus illegal migrants deported. 1.6 million has voluntarily self-deported, and 485,000 illegal migrants have been arrested. That is an enormous number. It's not enough. There's still a lot of work to do, but I mean, it looks a hell of a lot better than it did last year. All right, House Foreign Affairs Committee majority. China is trying to bully companies out of investing in America, but it won't work. We've got the best economy, the best workers, and the best president. From ships to critical minerals, the future belongs to America, and no amount of Chinese coercion will ever change that fact. And this is going to be on ustr.gov, and that's the Office of the United States Trade Representative. So it's just real short. And the article reads as follows. Ambassador Greer issues a statement responding to China's attempted coercion against companies that are helping revive American industry. And posted October 20th, so just yesterday as of this recording. Today, Ambassador Jamieson Greer issued the following statement in response to China's attempted coercion against companies that are helping revive American industry through large strategic investments in critical sectors. Let me try to make this a little larger in case anybody out there is watching this on a phone. All right, China's recent retaliatory actions against private companies across the globe is part of a broader pattern of economic coercion to influence American politics and control global supply chains by discouraging foreign companies from investing in America's shipbuilding and other critical industries. I mean, as far as what they're saying about influencing American politics, they did that years ago. It's called TikTok. And there's something like 150 million Americans use TikTok at least once a month. Fully controlled by the CCP. And what was really appalling about TikTok is that it's banned in China. The Chinese CCP does not allow any Chinese citizens to use TikTok, because they know how dangerous and destructive it is, how quickly it causes societal decay. Meanwhile, not only are we just letting it happen all across America, we're trying to buy the fucking thing. I mean, I get it that we're trying to take it away from Chinese control. Not that the CCP fully owns it. It's from ByteDance, but I mean, come on, ByteDance, they have to take orders from the CCP. But anyway, whatever. So Ambassador Greer, attempts at intimidation will not stop the United States from rebuilding its shipbuilding base and responding appropriately to China's targeting of critical industrial sectors for dominance. We remain committed to defending our companies, securing supply chains, and encouraging allied investment in America's industrial future. All right, so we got this from the FBI. Moving on to the next thing. Government employee arrested for unlawful retention of national defense information. So this individual, Ashley Tellis, she's a senior advisor at the Department of State and a contractor within the Department of Defense, and she's been arrested for allegedly removing over 1,000 pages of classified national defense information from government facilities and storing them in his home. Wait, Ashley, I thought that was a girl's name. All right, whatever. So this arrest should serve as a stark warning to anyone thinking about undermining national security. The FBI and our partners will do everything within our power to find you and hold you accountable. Assistant Director Roman Rozavsky, FBI Counterintelligence Division. All right. Now, I know that Ashley, there's some guys named Ashley, like Lindsay isn't Lindsey Graham. There's also Courtney. There's girl names that are guy names. It's just been a while since I've seen a guy named Ashley. So this is the article. It's on justice.gov. And Ashley Tellis, 64, a U.S. citizen residing in Vienna, Virginia, was arrested on October 11th in connection with his alleged unlawful retention of classified national defense information. Tellis appeared today in the Eastern District of Virginia for a detention hearing. Quote, safeguarding our country's national defense information is a top priority, said Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General Sue J. Bai of the Justice Department's National Security Division. For those entrusted with our country's most sensitive information, protecting it is a privilege and solemn responsibility. With the hard work and dedication of our prosecutors and agents, we will hold this defendant accountable for breaching that trust and exploiting his security clearance to unlawfully retain classified information detailing our military capabilities. So let's see. All right, so this is another quote. Let me bring it in a little closer. So the FBI arrested Ashley Tellis, a senior advisor at the Department of State and a contractor within the Department of Defense, for allegedly removing over 1,000 pages. So yeah, basically I already got that. That was on the Post. We are fully focused on protecting the American people from all threats, foreign and domestic. The charges, as alleged in this case, represent a grave risk to the safety and security of our citizens, said U.S. Attorney Halligan for the Eastern District of Virginia. Quote, the facts and the law in this case are clear, and we will continue following them to ensure that justice is served. So U.S. government security clearance holders are entrusted to keep our nation's most sensitive secrets safe, said Assistant Director in Charge Darren B. Cox of the FBI Washington Field Office. By allegedly removing classified documents from government facilities and storing them in his basement, Mr. Tellis betrayed that trust. The FBI and our federal partners acted quickly to execute a court-authorized search warrant and arrest Tellis to protect our national security and prevent highly classified defense information from falling into the wrong hands. And so let me see how much farther this goes. Okay. So anyway, according to court documents, Tellis held a top-secret security clearance with sensitive compartmented information, SCI access. He had worked for the U.S. Department of State since 2001 and currently serves in addition as a contractor for the Department of Defense's Office of Net Assessment. He also serves as a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. As alleged, Tellis accessed classified documents on multiple occasions from secured facilities, including a sensitive compartmented information facility, or SCIF, at the Department of Defense and a secure computer system at the Department of State. In one instance, Tellis altered the file name of a classified document, printed portions of it under the altered title, and then deleted the renamed file. In another incident, he was observed placing classified materials into a notepad and concealing them within his personal briefcase before leaving a secured government facility. What the fuck was he doing with this shit? During a court-authorized search of Tellis's residence, investigators recovered over 1,000 pages of documents with classified markings, including materials labeled secret and or top secret. These documents were found in locked filing cabinets in a basement home office and in trash bags stored in a basement utility area. The FBI Washington Field Office is investigating the case with valuable assistance from the Air Force Office of Special Investigations and the Department of State's Diplomatic Security Service. So they brought the whole cavalry in on this one. Assistant U.S. Attorney Seth Schlesinger for the Eastern District of Virginia and Trial Attorney Leslie Esbrook of the National Security Division's Counterintelligence and Export Control Section are prosecuting the case. Yeah, man, this dude's in some deep shit. So yeah, that happened today. That was one of the top stories that broke today, which is it's a pretty big deal, man. 1,000 classified documents. That's no joke. All right, Newsmax. Tech billionaire Elon Musk lashed out at Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy Tuesday, accusing the Trump administration official of, quote, trying to kill NASA, end quote, in a vitriolic string of posts on his social media platform on X. And there's more here on Newsmax. So I'm mainly looking to see if we can get his posts. I don't know if they actually included them. It looks like they've got quotes. I was hoping to see the posts themselves. Which, let's see. So this was today. So let me take a quick look and see if I can just go straight to Elon Musk. He posts a lot, so not sure if I'm going to be able to find it, but I'll at least take a quick look. On Elon. There it is. So let's see if we got anything on here with regard to this. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. So should someone whose biggest claim to fame is climbing trees be running America's space program? Uh-oh. All right, so it's better from here. I don't think that's related. Yeah, see, it's going to be difficult to find this. Farthest each... All right, if you need help making your decision, here are 2 photos of the farthest each NASA candidate has gone from Earth's surface. Should someone who's... Okay, so... America's space program. I mean, is NASA really under the direction of the Department of Transportation? If that's the case, I didn't know that. Anyway. So, America, you have 2 candidates for NASA leader. First is a 2-time commander, astronaut, spacewalker, CEO, and aggressor squadron pilot. Second is a 3-time lumberjack, tree climbing champion, and former news anchor. Pick wisely. But see, I thought he was going after the Department of Transportation. That's... Musk fumes at Duffy. Yeah, so anyway, whatever. I'm not going to find it. I probably should have already looked that up beforehand. But anyway, so he fumes at Duffy over loss of SpaceX government contract. Yeah, that would give him a pretty good reason to be pissed off at him. So tech billionaire Elon Musk lashed out at Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy Tuesday, accusing the Trump administration official of trying to kill NASA in a vitriolic string of posts on its social media platform. Musk, who served as head of the Department of Government Efficiency until late May, had previously clashed with Duffy over efforts to reduce the size of the federal bureaucracy. Quote, I think it might not have been intentional, might have been ham-handed, like some of the requests that were made by Doge, but my position was we are not going to fire air traffic controllers, Duffy told the New York Post earlier this year. Safety-critical positions are not going to be fired within the Department of Transportation, he added. We can do things more efficiently, but we are not going to fire air controllers. And so we had little back and forth, but we got along very well after that. I think the papers made it a bigger deal than it was. However, hostilities flared on Monday after Duffy told CNBC that Musk's company SpaceX had fallen behind the administration's timeline for returning to the moon and that he would allow other companies to compete for the government contract. I mean, who the hell else is going to take him besides SpaceX? I mean, it's not going to be Jeff Bezos, like freaking Blue Horizons. That thing's just a glorified roller coaster, basically. I mean, it doesn't even fully go out into space. So, I mean, I'm curious to know what other private company would get a contract above SpaceX to take astronauts to the freaking moon. But anyway, quote, we're not going to wait for one company, Duffy said. We're going to push this forward and win the second space race against the Chinese, get back to the moon, set up a camp, a base. Well, dude, the Artemis missions, they've already begun, but they're going to send astronauts up there next year, 2026. They're not going to land on the moon just yet, but they're going to head to the moon and orbit the moon, and then they're going to return. At least that's my understanding as to the next stage of Artemis. So they don't have a whole lot of time to get this figured out. I'm sure that SpaceX is already just deeply involved in the Artemis missions at this point, especially if they're relying on SpaceX to get them up there. I don't know. But anyway, the Trump cabinet official, who also serves as the acting administrator of NASA, then posted a clip of his interview on X explaining that the government was opening up production of the moon landing system to other companies. Musk raged against Duffy's remarks in a series of acerbic posts. I don't know, words are hard sometimes. Beginning with a gif of an exchange in which an African anchor asked a guest, "Why are you gay?" Yeah, I know that one. Why are you gay? All right, next, he took aim at SpaceX rival Blue Origin. Yeah, that was a Blue Origin. What did I say? Blue Horizon or whatever? No, it's Blue Origin, which is owned by fellow billionaire Jeff Bezos, writing, Blue Origin has never delivered a payload to orbit, let alone the moon. No, Blue Origin is not going to get that contract. They could try to apply for it. But dude, Blue Origin's exactly what I said it is. It's just a glorified carnival ride. It goes vertically up into, the upper atmosphere. If you really want to give it to them, all right, fine, space, but then they go right back down. The fact that they're weightless when you see them going up on Blue Origin, they're only weightless because the rocket or the capsule, the vehicle, is in free fall. I mean, that's why they're weightless, because it goes up really high and then it falls right back down again. It doesn't even go into orbit. To be weightless for a prolonged period of time, you got to be in orbit. And that's something Blue Origin hasn't done. So anyway, next he took aim. Let's see. I already got that one. So the SpaceX CEO resumed his barrage of attacks on Duffy on Tuesday, dubbing him Sean Dummy and accusing him of trying to kill NASA. Quote, the person responsible for America's space program can't have a 2-digit IQ, Musk wrote, deferring to Duffy. Newsmax reached out to the DOT for comment, but did not receive an immediate response. Woo, it's getting spicy. I don't think Elon Musk has a whole lot to worry about. I mean, SpaceX, as far as getting to the moon, they're the only game in town, man. It's either SpaceX or it's NASA. And SpaceX has already proven time and time again, they could do this way better than NASA. I mean, before SpaceX entered the scene, everything was manual. Remember all those buttons and all those dials and knobs and everything that they have in the space vehicles, including the space shuttle? I'm pretty sure it had buttons all over the place in the cockpit. Well, once SpaceX came out with, what was it, the Dragon capsule, there are no buttons. It's all automated. It's all self-driving. So, all right, but anyway. Trump War Room, quote, American truckers are cheering the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal migrant drivers as not only a means to make highways safer, but also as a step to raking in more cash in markets long known for profiting off cheap foreign labor. So this is the article from the Daily Caller. I thought it was related to the other one. Anyway, more cash flows into American truckers' pockets as Trump cracks down on foreign drivers. I know a lot of truckers, especially the independent contractors, they are really happy about this, man. They are celebrating. American truckers are cheering the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal migrant drivers as not only a means to make highways safer, but also as a step into raking in more cash in markets long known for profiting off cheap foreign labor. Anyway, continuing, President Donald Trump's Department of Transportation has rattled the trucking industry with nationwide orders such as tougher English proficiency standards and drastic restrictions on foreign commercial drivers. The changes followed a string of horrific accidents caused by illegal migrants who managed to score commercial driver's licenses from various states, including one that came from New York. He refused to give his name, and I showed it on this show. It was about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, and on his name, on his commercial driver's license, it simply reads "no name given," and I believe he was proven to be an illegal immigrant too. So they're not even asking for their names at this point. They're just giving out CDLs to anybody, it seems like. Anyway, I've definitely noticed some rates going up. Ilya Denisenko, the owner and operator of ICV Express, said to the Daily Caller News Foundation, just days earlier, Denisenko was easily able to negotiate a load originally posted for $1,000 up to $1,900, damn near double. Without me even speaking to someone, they approved $1,900, he explained. That's almost double of what they had originally posted for it, and I would say the normal rate for that lane was about maybe $1,500 to $1,600, and I automatically got $1,900. That is awesome, man. There's roughly 3.5 million truck drivers who carry a commercial driver's license in the United States, according to the American Trucking Association's. Industry experts estimate that around 200,000 of them carry non-domiciled CDLs. These are commercial licenses issued by state governments to individuals who are not residents of that state, typically applying to foreign nationals. Quote, I don't think that's that many compared to the total number of drivers, but I think it'll more affect certain markets. Denisenko said they're either in the New York or Chicago area, and it seems like all of their drivers are visa holder drivers with non-domiciled CDLs. Trucking regulations became headline news in August when a truck driver was accused of killing 3 people in Florida, which we're pretty well aware of at this point. Trump administration highlighted the plight of Marcus Coleman's 5-year-old daughter, who has been left with life-altering injuries after an illegal migrant trucker in June of 2024 caused a multi-vehicle wreck in California. Like the driver in the Florida crash, the driver behind the crash was an Indian national who earned a CDL issued by state officials. The appalling crashes ignited questions over how these drivers were able to score CDLs, with the DOT launching a nationwide investigation. DOT Secretary Sean Duffy, coincidence, just talked about him with Elon Musk. He declared in September that non-citizens who wish to earn non-domiciled CDLs must undergo a mandatory federal immigration status check and have an employment-based visa. The secretary added that an ongoing federal motor carrier safety administration, or FMCSA, investigation uncovered a pattern by state officials doling out licenses unlawfully to foreign drivers, with California allegedly being the most egregious actor. California was ordered to immediately pause issuance of non-domiciled CDLs and identify all unexpired non-domiciled CDLs that do not comply with FMCSA regulations. The state was given until the end of October to come into compliance or risk immediately losing out on $160 million in federal highway funds. So let me see what else we got. I just want to see how long. So yeah, it actually goes on for a substantial, it's a pretty long article. very detailed. It's off to a great start, but I think we got the gist of it at this point. So as all the other ones, it'll be down in the description if you want to finish that up on your own time. So the Office of the DNI must read from Fox News. DNI Gabbard, quote, the American people made a clear choice when they elected the president to stop the Biden administration's prolific and dangerous weaponization of government agencies against the American people and the Constitution. So we're going to be getting this on Fox News as well. So the Trump administration agencies are coordinating to expose Biden administration's prolific and dangerous weaponization of government. And the Trump admin agencies are working to expose the Biden administration's prolific and dangerous weaponization of government. The Interagency Weaponization Working Group, IWWG, is made up of officials from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Justice Department, the FBI, and the CIA, and even more. Officials told Fox News Digital that Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, initiated the Interagency Weaponization Working Group, which has been meeting bi-weekly since April to share information, coordinate, and execute. That is a brilliant idea. Quote, the American people made a clear choice when they elected President Trump to stop the Biden administration's prolific and dangerous weaponization of government agencies against the American people and the Constitution. Gabbard told Fox News Digital, I stood up this working group to start the important work of interagency coordination under President Trump's leadership to deliver accountability. She added, true accountability is the first step toward lasting change. Officials told Fox News Digital the group was created to streamline information sharing across the government in support of the Trump executive order. And Joe Biden's Department of Justice targeted President Trump and anyone close to him, prosecuted pro-life advocates, treated parents at school board meetings as domestic terrorists, and destroyed public trust in federal law enforcement. Attorney General Pam Bondi told Fox News Digital, under President Trump, we are working every day alongside our partners to end weaponization and restore one tier of justice for all, Bondi said. Meanwhile, FBI Director Kash Patel told Fox News Digital, for years, Biden's DOJ turned federal law enforcement into a political weapon, going after President Trump, pro-life Americans, and parents at school boards while letting real criminals run wild, going after President Trump, pro-life Americans, and parents at school boards while letting real criminals run wild. Under President Trump, we've ripped that agenda out by the roots. Thank God. Patel added, we're restoring equal justice under the law. One standard, one mission, protect the American people. Officials involved pointed Fox to President Trump's executive order, which says interagency coordination is needed to ensure accountability for the previous administration's weaponization of the federal government against the American people. The executive order had directed Gabbard, in consultation with the heads of other appropriate departments and agencies within the intelligence community, to, quote, take all appropriate action to review the activities of the intelligence community over the last 4 years and identify any instances of the weaponization of government. And officials also said that the interagency group is working to undo the Biden administration's whole-of-government approach to abuse the powers of government against the American people. Quote, the weaponization of government against Americans did not happen in one agency one time, an official explained. It happened repeatedly over the duration of the Biden administration. That's why, in order to depoliticize and de-weaponize the government, it is important to understand what agencies carried out, what roles, and why, the official continued. The IWWG is essential for coordinating across agencies. Look, if there aren't hundreds of people that not only get indicted, but sent to prison over doing this, then every time the Democrats get in power, they're just going to keep doing the same thing, if not ramping it up even further and further. So are we going to get any people sent to prison over this? Because if not, then every time the Democrats get in, they're going to weaponize the government against the American people. And anytime the Republicans get in power, they simply don't. But anyway, officials said the media has attempted to negatively spin lawful oversight and accountability by claiming it is a way for the Trump administration to weaponize the government against its political opponents. The irony is accusing the Interagency Weaponization Working Group of targeting the president's political opponents is classic projection and could not be further from the truth, an official said. Yeah, man, they still have yet to come up with one single instance where either the Trump administration or Republicans are weaponizing the government against Democrats. I mean, I guess they could point to firing a bunch of federal employees during the shutdown, but Republicans didn't start the shutdown. The Democrats did. And they need 5 Senate votes in order to reopen it. So they can't even use that as an excuse or as an instance of Republicans weaponizing the government against Democrats. But we've got plenty. We've got plenty of instances to point to in the last 10, 15 years where Democrats were doing exactly that, including everything they're talking about in this article. The official said there is no targeting of any individual person for retribution. IWWG is simply looking at available facts and evidence that may point to actions, reports, agencies, individuals, and more who illegally weaponize the government in order to carry out political attacks. The only people who fear accountability are the ones who never expected to face it, the official continued. Oversight is not the problem, abuse of power is. And there you have it. Like I said, I stand by what I said. I hope hundreds and hundreds of people end up getting convicted and sentenced to prison for weaponizing the government, because that's exactly what they not only deserve, but that's exactly what our system truly needs, because if not, they're just going to keep weaponizing it over and over and over again. They're basically setting the precedent that you can use the government, the power of the government, to do whatever the hell you want, including going after parents of children in the way of school board meetings when they have a grievance against the school board for LGBT this in class and the rainbow flag, trans flag, or heavy COVID restrictions, forcing their kids to keep masks on all day and all that shit. So anyway, from the White House. Oh yeah, by the way, and those were those school boards that were calling the parents, what were they calling them? Like Nazis and white supremacists and all that fucking retarded bullshit. So anyway, the President Trump shows President Nixon's daughter, Tricia Nixon Cox, and family the portrait of her father on the White House colonnade. The greatest honor history can bestow is the title of peacemaker, said Richard Nixon, first inaugural address in 1969. And there's the picture, which, of course, Richard Nixon right there behind him, getting their picture taken at the White House, from the White House, 7 hours ago. All right, Robin Kelly, Trump is spending his time redecorating the White House to look like Mar-a-Lago instead of reopening the government or lowering your health care costs. Never forget, he'll always put himself first, not you. Oh yeah, he's so selfish to the point where he's using his own personal money to build this giant ballroom, which, I mean, we can only hope that another Democrat doesn't become president in the future, but history shows, I'm sure it's going to happen again, and they'll get to enjoy Trump's ballroom, courtesy of Trump's own money. All right, so this is from Midas Touch. Just in, the White House has begun demolishing portions of the East Wing of the White House to build Trump's $250 million ballroom, despite earlier claiming that it wouldn't interfere with the existing White House structure, Washington Post. Yeah, I don't know what they're referring to specifically, interfering with the White House structure. I mean, obviously, they're going to have to do some demolition to build the entrance into the ballroom. You know, they're going to integrate it into the rest of the building. It's not going to be a standalone structure. So obviously they're going to have to do some work with the building. But I mean, I don't know when this particular part of the White House was built. I'm sure it was fairly recently, because the original White House is way back here. I mean, and even that might not be original part of the White House. I don't know. I know they've added a lot to it over the years. So anyway, that's how it looks right now. They're doing some demo work. And they're going to start, I mean, they've obviously already broken ground on it. So anyway, this is from the White House. VP Vance in Israel at the opening of the Civilian Military Cooperation Center to begin the plan to rebuild Gaza and implement long-term peace based on President Trump's peace plan. VP Vance on Gaza peace deal. Things are going, frankly, better than I expected. So we'll take a look at this from
Good afternoon,
JD
everybody.
Vance.
It's great to have you. Look, I think that we are 1 week into President Trump's historic peace plan in the Middle East, and things are going, frankly, better than I expected that they were. This is a very, very tough situation. You have two peoples, two enemies who have fought a very tough conflict against each other. You have a terrorist organization on one hand that murdered a lot of innocent people. You've got an Israeli army that was defending itself on the other, that has learned a lot over the past couple of years. And then, of course, you have an innocent civilian population in Gaza that's caught in the middle. But we're here at the Civilian Military Cooperation Center, which we are announcing the opening of. You have Israelis and Americans working hand in hand to try to begin the plan to rebuild Gaza, to implement a long-term peace, and to actually ensure that you have security forces on the ground in Gaza, not composed of Americans, who can keep the peace over the long term. So we've got a lot of work left to do. This is going to take a very, very long time, but I think Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and Admiral Cooper behind me have done an incredible job. I want to say just a couple of quick things.
Yeah, lay down their guns first.
Steve Witkoff. Number
they
one,
haven't done.
The Israeli government has been remarkably helpful in this. I want to thank them, thank our Israeli partners, and all the folks particularly who are working hand in hand with their American friends here at the CMCC. And number two, I want to say that there is this weird attitude I've sensed in the American media and the Western media where there's almost this desire to root for failure.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Happens, that every time
they don't want Trump to take the win.
There's this inclination to say, oh, this is the end of the ceasefire. This is the end of the peace plan. It's not.
Oh, you know it.
It is, in fact, exactly how this is going to have to happen when you have people who hate each other, who have been fighting against each other for a very long time. We are doing very well. We are in a very good place. We're going to have to keep working on it, but I think we have the team to do exactly that. Good afternoon.
Let's hope so. Hopefully it doesn't take too long, but yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a really long process, as he said. But far leftists and the Democrats, they don't want to give Trump that win. They don't want to credit Trump with freeing Gaza. All right, anyway, Senate Republicans' new Maine liberal Graham Plattner's Nazi tattoo has been revealed. Oh, great. Liberal Graham Plattner has a Nazi tattoo. This comes less than a week after he was caught advocating for political violence, saying black people don't tip, calling all police bastards, and calling Maine's lobstermen pieces of shit. Oh my God. So what's next? So, not the greatest image, but I'm not familiar with this. I'm just taking them at their word. I mean, they posted it, so I'm assuming they're standing by it. Hate on display, Totenkopf, which is neo-Nazi symbols. And yeah, apparently he's got that right there on his chest. I guess he's trying to be a American History X wannabe. Anyway, so yeah, came across that today. Anyway, Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs. Cuba's economic collapse is a result of decades of corruption, mismanagement, and repression by an illegitimate regime that opts to invest in luxury hotels and limits private enterprise while its citizens go hungry. I don't know if they actually have anything further on that. No, they don't. That's just a statement that the Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs commented on. Matter of fact, I think I have one more topic on Cuba. I think it's actually a couple posts down, but I'll get to it. Federal Bureau of Prisons, major prison reform breakthrough, safer prisons, stronger communities, and better futures. The Bureau of Prisons director, who is William K. Marshall III, he's fully embracing his authority under the First Step Act and rolling out a game-changing decision to use conditional placement dates for classification and designation decisions, paving the way for quicker moves to lower security facilities and smoother re-entry into society. Reducing prison tension and creating safer work environments for staff is vital to making America safe again. Look, I remember there was a program that they implemented, I believe it was in the prison in Terre Haute, where if a prisoner was on good behavior for a period of time, it was something like 6 months or whatever, they had a cat program that was it was coordinated with the local I don't know if it's SPCA or Humane Society, one of those. And if a prisoner was on good behavior for long enough, they were allowed to have a cat or a kitten or what have you that they could take care of. And of course, if they break their good behavior, they take away the kitty and they don't get to see the cat ever again. So that was one hell of an incentive to keep them on good behavior. Last I heard, they still had that program going, and apparently it was extremely effective. So I think just something as simple as that could get all the prisoners on good behavior, for sure. So anyway, it says to read more. I'm not seeing exactly where we can read more because that's just an image. So I don't know if they just forgot to link it, or maybe no? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I'll just take them at their word that they're doing good work, and they're working on getting the Bureau of Prisons, the whole system, above and beyond where it is today. All right, U.S. Federal Housing, FHFA. U.S. Federal Housing announces Director Pulte will donate 100% of his salary to wounded veterans. And this is on FHFA.gov. And the statement reads from U.S. Federal Housing press release, and it's dated today. U.S. Federal Housing announces Director Pulte, I'm assuming it's Pulte, but I don't know, I'm bad with names, will donate 100% of his salary to wounded veterans in Washington, D.C., in a demonstration of commitment to fiscal responsibility and public service. William J. Pulte, director of U.S. Federal Housing, announced today that he will donate his salary. Quote, serving as President Trump's director of federal housing is the honor of a lifetime. Working in the most consequential administration in history to restore the American dream of homeownership is all the reward one needs, said Director Pulte. The donations began at the last pay period. I wonder how much of, let's say, Nancy Pelosi's salary, she's making she made $300 million. Is she donating her salary to anything? Probably not. I would not be the least bit surprised if not a single Democrat ever has. Although I know that's a bit of a bold statement. I'm sure there have been some, maybe even some that are in Congress now that might be donating their salary to whatever. But yeah, Director of Federal Housing, I mean, as far as the American dream of homeownership, he's got a hell of an uphill battle because Gen Z, they're paying close attention, and Gen Alpha probably not paying that close attention right now because they're still in the process of growing up, but they're about to be paying close attention to the housing market and how unreachable it truly is. And I actually just lost my place, damn it. That's all right, we'll get back to it. So just up a little bit, there we go. All right, anyway, Detroit Free Press. Coca-Cola rolls out new cane sugar soda in the U.S. after Trump endorsement. Now, they've already had cane sugar soda out for a while, the made in Mexico Coca-Cola you could buy in the glass bottles. At least in my area, one of the grocery stores, I believe that they're sold at Publix also, but I know that they're in stock at Winn-Dixie, and they've had them in stock for a long time. It's just the made in Mexico Coca-Cola made with cane sugar, which is way better than any other kind of Coca-Cola that we've had on the shelves for many years. But yeah, so apparently they're now rolling out cane sugar Coca-Cola. Now, the one question that I have is if they're doing this with all Coca-Cola, whether if it's 2 liters, 20 ounces, even fountain drinks. I don't even know if you can do that with cane sugar, with fountain soda or not. So, but anyway, President Trump publicly touted plans for Coca-Cola to switch to U.S. cane sugar to sweeten its drinks instead of high fructose corn syrup back in July. And I remember when they made that announcement. I haven't had Coca-Cola in a long time. It's probably been at least a couple years, but I would say if I had one choice to keep around a carbonated beverage, and if every other one went extinct forever, I would have to go with Coca-Cola. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people probably don't like it. I just like how it's very fizzy, and I don't know, man. It's been so long. I think the next time I try Coke, it's going to taste insanely sweet. All right, so Coca-Cola's begun rolling out its new cane sugar soda after President Donald Trump publicly pushed the company to move away from using high fructose corn syrup earlier this year, which high fructose corn syrup is in freaking everything, dude. It's absolutely incredible the amount of foods that we have on store shelves that has corn as an ingredient. It's absolutely crazy. Corn is in everything. All right, the Atlanta headquartered company has begun introducing 12-ounce single-serve glass bottles of its classic soda made with U.S. cane sugar in select U.S. markets, it confirmed in an email to USA Today. Well, that's not good enough, Coca-Cola. You got to make it cane sugar with everything, with all your 2 liters, all your 20 ounces, all your 1 liters, every type of Coca-Cola that's out there, instead of these stupid select U.S. markets. I mean, what's to stop me from just buying the Mexican Coca-Cola? That's already been in stock on shelves, and a lot of people are already aware of that. So I don't think that's exactly the move that President Trump was hoping for, or Secretary Kennedy for that matter. Quote, this launch reflects our ongoing commitment to giving people more ways to enjoy the beverages they love, Coca-Cola said in a statement. Coca-Cola Company's Chief Financial Officer John Murphy said during an interview with Bloomberg on Tuesday, October 21st, that supply chain challenges are limiting the rollout. What supply chain challenges? I don't know what he's talking about. What, big sugar? Dude, there's plenty of sugar to go around. In fact, they like to claim that sugar, or that not sugar specifically, but I know Hershey's, probably Coca-Cola, some of those other sweet companies with like sweet treats and candy, they jacked up their prices during COVID and they were blaming the supply chain shortage, just like everybody else was. But then it turned out that, there was never a shortage of sugar. There was never a shortage of cocoa. They were just wanting more money at the end of the day. They just got greedy. Anyway, it's going to be a measured rollout, Murphy told Bloomberg. There's only a certain amount of cane sugar available in the United States. Dude, I bet there's plenty. Come on. I mean, there's plenty of cane sugar out there. And if there's not enough currently, I'm sure there's plenty of land to just plant more sugar cane. I'm sure there is. I'm no expert, but I assume that to be the case. Of course, environmentalists, especially in Florida, would not be happy with that because they blame a lot of environmental damage on Big Sugar in Florida. Anyway, CEO James Quincy announced in late July the company would be bringing a Coke sweetened with cane sugar to the market in the fall, saying that the new drink would complement and expand its product range. The company did not replace high fructose corn syrup as the sweetener in its flagship line, however. It already uses cane sugar in some of its soda internationally, such as in Mexican Coke and other non-Coke drinks made in the United States. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's kind of a pointless rollout when we've already got Mexican Coca-Cola everywhere. Yeah, see, it's already been out for a while. It's called From Mexico. All right, moving on to Christopher Landau, delighted that Colombia's judicial institutions held firm against a brazen attempt to criminalize politics. Recent years have shown us in countries ranging from Colombia to Brazil to our own USA that the legal system can be used as a powerful weapon to distort the democratic process. I congratulate the people of Colombia on this important day in their history, where the rule of law proved more powerful than the individuals who sought to abuse it for political ends. And he's responding to Secretary Marco Rubio. Colombia's justice has prevailed as former President Uribe is absolved after years of the political witch hunt against him and his family. I'm not familiar with that exactly. I know that Brazil, they've been dealing with political turmoil for a while. Probably every South American country, to be honest. They're probably dealing with political corruption to some degree or another. So anyway, what the hell does this one say? 51 years in government. Chuck Schumer, 45 years in government. Nancy Pelosi, 33. Patrick Lee, 54 years in government. Maxine Waters, 47 years. Dianne Feinstein, 60 years in government. They're all blaming this guy for problems they haven't solved for decades. Not to mention, Trump's not even a career politician anyway. He's only been a politician for, 4 years? It's not even been 5 years yet. All right, anyway. And I got this from Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs. There's the other Cuba article. Cuba imports food, medicine, and humanitarian goods freely, which is allowed by the embargo. In just the last year, U.S. exports to Cuba increased by 16%, with 585 million USD flowing into the island in 2024. I don't know if they have anything extra on that. No, they don't. Just like the last one, they didn't add anything else to read up on. Just the post. All right, anyway. From the National Guard, in the wake of Typhoon Helong, the Alaska National Guard mobilized to provide life-saving support to storm-stricken communities. Guardsmen continue to deliver critical aid and coordinate recovery efforts to help Alaskans rebuild in the aftermath of the storm. So I saw the first 10 seconds of this. It's pretty surprising how much damage that this storm actually did to Alaska, but let's check this out. I mean, that is crazy, man. Amount of flooding.
This is a very unique response. We have the entire Alaska organized militia that have responded eagerly and willingly to this response. We have the Alaska National Guard, the Alaska State Defense Force, and the Alaska Naval Militia, and this is a combined effort from the entire organization. Our JOC, Joint Operations Center, is fully stood up, and it is all hands on deck. Everybody is supporting and trying to help Alaskans in their time of need. This is not a mandatory evacuation, but we are helping anybody who needs to get out of the small communities using our Army Guard helicopters to bring them to Bethel. And so we are going to continue operations as long as we need to get people to safety. We also plan to continue to stay in Bethel and be there for the state's needs at the state's request to help rebuild these communities in their time of need.
Wow, man. That is crazy. Probably not something that they're talking about on mainstream media. I'm sure probably most people don't have any idea that there was even the remnants of a typhoon that even hit Alaska in the first place. So anyway, I think that's all I've got. And yep, that's it. That's all I got. And let me just show the shutdown clock real quick. It just hit 20 days, 21 hours, and 0 minutes. And it's going to continue. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. Hopefully they'll open it up sometime in the next coming days or maybe in a week or so. But I've just got that feeling it's probably going to drag on for months. So anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me if you subscribe, and I'll drop a new show every evening, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, the agencies, and everything else. And I also post daily episodes over on X too, so Feel free to comment over there if you'd like. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.